Yeah, guys, wow. Boogie, do you have an NBA team?
Of course, Lakers.
You're a Lakers fan.
But this is a Cleveland show, so I'm not going to speak anything.
No, that's all good, bro.
You keep trying to set me up, Jay. I want to make it home, Jay. Back to Canton, so we're not talking about Lakers right now, Jay.
The Lakers, by the way, don't tug on Superman's cape.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
You poked the bear just ate you.
Yeah, the bear ate a grizzly.
Yeah.
It's really, I don't want to get too far down this road, but if anybody's spitting on LeBron's grave, anybody trying to say he's not one of the elite players in the league, I've seen guys list their current top 10 and LeBron's not in it. And I feel like the only reason they made that list was so they could get clicks because LeBron wasn't in it.
Right.
This dude is still, I mean, he took the game over.
He's the best player in the series.
I absolutely concur with that. His drive to the bucket to tie the game was incredible. Enough on the Lakers. This is a Cavs show.
I know already.
Man, Jace, we have to start with you. I don't know. Was I the only one that picked the Knicks in the series, or did anybody else?
Just
okay. But I didn't see it being this lopsided. Is this fixable, and who's to blame?
It's always fixable, whether or not they're going to. This feels bleaker than any time before when they were in a 3-1 hole because they don't have the guy. Like, Donovan's a wonderful player, but he's not what they had here before.
What happened to him Sunday?
I wanted to go back and watch the game again, and I haven't. It felt to me like that. I thought all series long the Knicks were going to do everything they could to get the ball out of Donovan's hands.
Right.
And Sunday felt like the first time where they actually did that, where they were sending 3 and 4 guys at him on multiple occasions. Get the ball out of his hands and make someone else beat you. And he didn't play well. He hasn't had a good series.
No.
Even when they're sending multiple guys at you, the great players figure out how to get it done, whether it's scoring, facilitating. Now he hasn't had a whole lot of help around him. And really that's what it comes down to for me is like everybody who wants to kill JB, like, okay, I get it. Like I haven't agreed with all of his decisions. I don't like the fact they started LeVert. I thought Okoro should have come out of the starting lineup, but I would have started Danny only because he's a veteran who isn't going to get lost in the moment, who's going to take the shots that he should take and make the right play with the ball.
And you can still get LeVert off the bench.
And you can get LeVert because they're, as we said last week, they're on a budget with their shooting. That's the biggest problem with this team. I've said it all series. I'll continue to say it. Shooting. That's not a JB issue. That's a personnel issue. Like when you look at what he's playing with, Cedi Osman should be a 9th guy in a rotation on a playoff team trying to win a championship. He should be your 9th best player. Isaac Okoro should be your 8th, 9th best player. Danny Green should be your 11th best player. And you're counting on these guys for heavy minutes because there's nobody else. They have no bigs they can play. No playable bigs. That's a problem. And like in the 3 losses against the Knicks, they've only given up, I think, at most 102 points. The defense is not the issue. And no, I don't understand why JB put Garland on Brunson. I disagree with that decision. But defense isn't what's costing the Cavs the games. They're shooting 26% from 3 in the 3 losses.
And we've talked about that all year.
That's what,
like, it's a 3-point shooting lead.
Yes.
And they've got nobody to fill that hole, and it is glaring right now in the playoffs.
And that's why they have nobody at the 3. They have nobody that can play at the 3 that can spread the floor, that can create driving lanes. I said yesterday I was driving in, I was talking to a personnel guy who said they should bring Jared off the bench, start Evan. Not because of the way Jared is necessarily playing the series. He hasn't had a good series. But because you need to space the floor. You need to create lanes for Darius and for Donovan. And I'll go back to the 2016 championship team. I know that those guys aren't here anymore, but it was the style that they played. Drive and kick. Get to the middle of the defense, kick to the shooters. That's the way to play in the NBA, but they can't play that way because they don't have the shooters. They're not deep. They have no bigs, and they have very, very little shooting.
Yeah.
Jay, I tell you what, I don't like to get to this, and I know if the fans, every time you get a team that's very likable, especially when you got guys that are good guys, they play well, they try to play the right way, it's very difficult when you criticize the way the roster is built. But, Jason is right. When he was talking about that executive, I tweeted, and it got a lot of traction. I don't know if Jared Allen is a long-term fix for this team because you got to think about it like this. The reason why everybody wants Evan Mobley to take that next step is so that Jared Allen can be the only one down there and he's not clogging up the lane. He could just do the things he does. The spacing is much better,
Right.
and you have driving lanes. But you can't force that. Right now, if you look at it, Evan Mobley is just a better version of Jared Allen. That's all he is. Like, he's more athletic. He's more defensively inclined. He can guard more positions.
Is your contention that they're too similar in styles and they just need someone else?
No, my contention is that roster and the way they are playing Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, and either Isaac Okoro as a 3 is not tenable. Like that, they look like they're built like a 1987 roster, like two bigs like Rick Mahorn and Lambeer down low. You can't do that anymore. And so what you see is Jared Allen is underneath the basket and Evan Mobley is underneath the basket. And on top of it, the teams, New York is just like, okay, well, how's about we just double him everywhere? Anytime Garland gets it, we double it. Anytime Mitchell gets it, we're blitzing him. And the rest of the guys can't do anything.
They can't step up and beat him. I get it's one thing if one of those two bigs can shoot like Kevin Durant.
Right.
But
And that's
they
the next,
can't.
that's the next step that Mobley has to take. That's his next progression, is becoming more of a reliable three-point shooter. It's just not there yet.
I've seen absolutely no progression.
Yeah, what if it doesn't happen?
It may never be. It may never be.
So if it doesn't happen, what's the answer?
Well, if it doesn't happen, so I don't want to give up on Jared Allen. Like one playoff series, I know a lot of people want to run Jared Allen out of town. A lot of people are saying now they're changing the ceiling on Evan Mobley. I'm not ready to do any of that based on one playoff series. Mobley's 21 years old. This is his second year. We have no idea what he can become. I think he could be the number one on a championship team. I 100% believe that's his ceiling, and I'm not going to cap it or lower it based on one bad playoff series. Jared Allen has been a tentpole to what they do defensively all year long, and he's getting pushed around by Mitchell Robinson. He has not had a good series.
Big time.
Yeah. But again, I'm not going to scrap it and throw it away because of a couple bad games in one playoff series. And I don't think Jared Allen's going anywhere. Like, Cavs aren't moving him because Kobe wants guys who want to be here. And Jared Allen signed a $100 million extension in Cleveland after he was traded here. Donovan didn't sign that extension in Cleveland. He signed that in Utah and was traded here. Jared Allen signed that extension after he was here. And Kobe's really big on, I want guys who want to be here, and if you don't want to be here, we'll get you out of here.
I don't think you can win a championship given loyalty test. Like, yeah, you want to be here, but if you're not,
I'm
just saying it's too early to make rash decisions.
This is why I felt that the way last season ended was
100%.
so punitive.
Yeah.
It wasn't just because they didn't have a chance to make a playoff run. I think it stunted this franchise's growth by a full year because they're getting hit in the mouth in these playoffs, and they're finding out, there is another level, there is another gear, and they're not ready for it. If they were just able to get into the playoffs last year and experience last year what they're experiencing this year, this series might be going a different way. And with the Bucks on the verge of elimination at the 1 slot, can you imagine the only thing that would stand between the Cavs and an Eastern Conference trip to the finals would be the Miami Heat?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They could take them.
That's crazy.
I feel they could too.
Yeah, they could take them. I feel like you brought up last year, but I feel like that's what they thought Donovan Mitchell was going to be when they traded for him this year, to get them over that hump so they didn't have to go through those growing pains. And it's a star-driven league, and he's not having the best series, so I feel like it's a rippling effect for the whole team and things like that. So I feel like they're struggling, but we need to see that spider Donovan Mitchell, that Utah Donovan Mitchell, and we just haven't seen that peak performance. You know, playoff time, you expect it from Jimmy Butler. You've seen what he did. Well, where's that Donovan Mitchell performance that we usually get once a year or twice a year in the playoffs? Like, wow, that dude's special. So
he put Utah on his back. And it looks like
with less help. And he has a better roster to me, the starting five-wise.
I agree.
Here in Cleveland.
I mean, this team is better.
Yeah.
And they're going to get bounced, likely, by a Knicks team that is just, I think they're very well coached. We talked about that coming into this series. I think Tibbs has hit all the right buttons.
He has.
And with the exception of the Game 2 blowout, they have dominated this series completely.
Four rebounds?
Yeah, the rebounding was atrocious.
I keep going back to it because I know New York is rugged, and I know what they do. But it ain't even about just the shooting. I mean, we look completely outclassed when it comes to hustle points, loose balls, 50-50 balls, the emotion. I mean, Jared Allen looks like somebody ran his dog over. Like it was a family of dogs that got ran over. They were all in the cart and they got ran over. And not only, I looked it up, he had 4 rebounds. Do you know Brunson had more rebounds than him? Hartenstein had more rebounds than him. Mitchell Robinson had more rebounds. Hart had more rebounds. And Obi Toppin, if you were an energy guy and that's what you bring to the table, you cannot be looking like you saw a ghost the whole series. He just has. I'm confused.
So what about JB's future? Because we had talked about some of the decisions that he had made in close and late games in the regular season. Misuse of timeouts, just some signs that were there. And now, obviously, in the playoffs, everything gets magnified. If this is it for them and they lose Game 5 and they lose 4-1, is he back next year?
I don't think. Listen, emotion always comes into it, right, with these types of things. First of all, I don't think there's a difference if they lose in 5 or 6. I don't think that matters in terms of what we're talking about here with his future. I don't know that one game really decides anything, and I also know that this is not the same organization that it was 4 and 5 years ago in the way that
they had a quick trigger.
Yeah, the way that Dan would make emotional reactionary decisions to things. That doesn't happen anymore. They don't fire anybody anymore. Like, you should drive over to their practice facility now. They got cars going all the way to the street because they don't fire anyone. They just keep adding to the organization, and nobody, which I don't think is a bad thing. Like, I've screamed for years, there's zero stability in that organization, zero. And now they're trying to get some traction here with Kobe under a long-term extension, JB under a long-term extension. So they are trying to build it the right way. I don't think he goes. I don't think. You never know when emotion comes into this and human nature plays into it. But I think he's back. But I will say, like, a lot of pressure on next year, and a lot of people are under the gun next year. Next year is a very big year in terms of Donovan Mitchell's future and in terms of how long they can hold on to him before they have to start making some difficult choices. Next year is huge for regardless of how this ends. Next year is huge for this team.
And so it looks like, from the way looking in, I look at the climate of things. So you don't have the draft capital. I don't think you got cap flexibility like that. You don't have I would say the cachet to just bring in all kind of great free agents. Like, they're just going to come and show up in Cleveland. So my thing is, right now, we're on the precipice of getting gentleman's sweep, 4-1, and I do believe that counts because that means that you could have put up a last stand at home and you laid down at home, especially if they get beat bad at home. That looks horrible. But you're set up to run it back with the whole squad. So you're going to run it back with JB, keep him there. You're going to run it back with the 2 bigs and hope Evan Mobley gets better. You're going to still bring back Cedi and Dean and hope Dean Wade gets some sort of game over the summer. I don't know if it's tenable for you to lose to the Knicks 4-1 in the playoffs and then run it back with a roster that I don't think make you compete at the highest level.
Yeah. My first time on a talk show, I'm not going to be up here calling for a coach's job. That will not be on my resume, especially out here in Cleveland where I have to lay my head. So
you're a wise man.
Yeah. I'm going to say he deserves one more year. I'll say there were injuries. The backcourt didn't play together as much, and they need to fix the spacing and fix the bench. But that's a personnel problem. That's not a coach problem. You let the coach go and bring in a new coach, you still have the same roster. Why wouldn't the same problem still be here?
No, that's a very good point.
You get what I'm saying? So maybe
the bench is, you look around, and it's funny because the Browns had issues at wide receiver and defensive line when they broke camp last year. Mm-hmm. And most fans just gloss right over that, say, oh, we got, we're going to be okay. We've got this, we've got that. And then you turn on the game and you realize, oh my God, it's worse than we thought. When we looked at the depth of this roster, we loved the big 4. We loved that core 4. But you realize in the playoffs where rotations are so critical, that bench is anemic.
Yeah,
it is ugly. And by the way, not that Kevin Love has played a huge role in the Heat going up 3-1, but he's been a factor. He's hit some big threes for Miami. He's a rotational guy. And I was as guilty as anyone. I was sitting here screaming, this guy can give you nothing in the playoffs. But I think if they had a mulligan on the Kevin Love thing, I think they would use it because it gives him a veteran who has been there, a voice in that locker room that can say, guys, 3-1 isn't the end of the world.
Yeah.
I know that from experience.
Yeah.
He would bring them a quality player that can do certain things off the bench. And who shoots threes on this team? We've been asking that question all season.
So I was on the radio this morning talking to Kevin, and Mikey, can you give me 3 minutes here? Can we do this? Can we?
Sure.
I know it wasn't part, but let's have the Kevin Love conversation.
Sure.
Because I do think it's important to have, because a lot of people are screaming exactly what you're screaming. They just let him go for nothing. He could have helped them. The Kevin Love conversation is so complicated because human motion, again, is involved in this, and it's not like fantasy basketball where you can just bench a guy and then bring him in, put him back into your lineup, put him on your roster when you need him again.
There are feelings involved.
There are feelings involved, and Kevin felt like he was not communicated with properly from the organization in terms of.
Do you know who he blames for that?
The coaching staff.
Yeah.
Now, I'm giving you Kevin's side of it because
Right.
it hasn't really been discussed, and I mentioned it briefly at the time.
You've talked to Kevin about this?
I've talked to Shams and I broke the story.
Right.
And we have spoken to people in his circle about this.
Yeah.
I have not talked directly to Kevin.
Right. But you're getting informed information
From his side.
Right.
And the Cavs could give you a completely different version. He felt like he wasn't communicated with properly, and he wanted to play. Like, he still thinks he can play in this league. He wants another contract. In order to get another contract, he's got to play. So he wanted to get on the floor and he wanted to get minutes. The Cavs very clearly felt like he could not help them any longer.
Okay, why couldn't they tell him that? Because
Maybe,
as a fan and as a guy who's appreciated what he's brought to this organization, and to watch his ebbs and flows, highs and lows, ins and outs throughout his tenure in Cleveland, he freaking deserved that.
Well, and maybe they
deserved
did.
a conversation.
And I wasn't
and you
in
know
the
what?
room.
He just became persona non grata.
Yeah.
And even the fans were like, what's going on here?
Yeah. And I wasn't in the room. I don't know. Maybe they did, or maybe they feel like they did. And he communication. How many times in a relationship do you feel like you've communicated things and the other person says, no, you didn't?
Right.
So it's impossible.
day.
Right? So
Don't you get in too much trouble now. I don't know what's waiting for you at home. Don't you get into
Hey,
all the
he's got a
time.
long, sordid history.
You catch on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I show up tomorrow, I'm going to know it's because of that clip right there.
I've been taking L's for a while.
So that's where he's coming from. That's how he felt about it.
Right.
And from the Cavs' perspective, like, we've seen angry Kevin before. When he was playing and they weren't winning and things weren't going well, we've seen his outbursts on the court. And the fear with the organization was, listen, we've seen this before when he was playing. What's it going to be like if he's not playing? Is it going to be a detriment to the locker room? And they made the decision, it's better to give him what he wants. He's meant so much to the organization. Send him on his way. Give him the opportunity he wants, because we don't think he can help us any longer. Now, that may have been the miscalculation. But again, he wasn't playing well. Frankly, he didn't play well in Miami. He had a couple games here and there, but he didn't shoot the ball like we remember Kevin Love as a shooter. So that's why this is such a complicated conversation.
He had a great game in one of the play-in games.
He did, yeah. He had one game where I think he had 18 points.
He did.
Like the day after.
And he hit a bunch of threes.
It was the day after the Cavs lost, I think.
Yes, which even drove home the point,
Yes.
what are you doing?
So that's, and they felt like Dean Wade was ready to step into a role where he could give you 18, 20 minutes a night, make a few threes, grab a few rebounds. He was going to be that stretch four. And when Kevin left, Dean completely fell apart.
So
His
was
game
it just a
completely-
personnel miscalculation?
It very well could be, yeah. That Dean wasn't ready for that role. And that's why you wind up in this. So it's, I get why fans say, I can't believe they let Kevin go for nothing. How could they do that? But it's so much more complicated than that. There's so much.
And we have the benefit of the recent results. too.
Absolutely.
You know,
like at the time, he was still saying, my thumb isn't right. He was coming off the injury. And my eyes, we discussed this on the panel multiple times. I felt like once the play ratchets up in the playoffs, what is this guy going to give you?
You know what I respect the most
More than 4 rebounds.
you know what I respect about LeBron? He did the same thing this year out in LA. He said, look, he puts maximum pressure on you. See, teams that usually would punt, they good at punting. You ever be like, man, you playing football and you be like, man, look, it's 4th and 1, you playing defense, you like, I'm tired as hell. Thank goodness they punting.
Yeah.
Because if they was gonna run this, I was gonna get blocked up front. Teams be punting. LeBron puts maximum pressure on you where there's no such thing as a punt. Every year, if it don't work, you better get back on the table and reshuffle. Now, that's the problem that we had.
Well, they came back from the dead.
And they went and got D'Angelo Russell. They went and made moves at the trade deadline. Now look what they're doing. For the Cavaliers, you have to look at this series and say, okay, well, we got to rethink some things. If we not gonna beat the Knicks, that means we was the 5th best team, right? But Miami all of a sudden looks like they're better than you. So now you got this core in this roster, and you felt really good about going into the playoffs. But what the playoffs do, the playoffs show you who you really are. The regular season stuff, that's cool. When the playoffs hit, you see the levels to it. So now, as a Cavaliers fan, I'm questioning and I'm saying, okay, well, if now all of a sudden we don't even look like the 4 seed and we down at maybe 6, 7, does that mean that this is tenable? Can you go and is this makeup something that you can actually win with against Eastern Conference teams at the top? Is that something you can do? I don't know anymore.
I believe so. I feel like, but you have to address that in free agency because this series is probably over. They're going to have to find somebody on the bench that can get him some more three-point shooting because they're shooting terribly. You have the 2 bigs that's inside clog in the middle. That's why I believe Kevin Love still should have been on the team. Even if he didn't give you much, he gave you spacing. Yeah. That would allow Donovan Mitchell and Garland to drive to the basket. So I feel like them letting him go and getting nothing in return was a mishap on personnel-wise. So you can't really blame the coach for things like that. So I'm hoping they can address that.
I wonder
in the offseason.
I'll give you that too.
Now I wonder what the machinations are inside the organization. Was it J.B. going to Kobe saying, "I'm not going to use him. Let's move on"? You know, was it Kobe making that assessment? Do you know how things internally go there?
I know Kevin had hard feelings toward the organization by the end of the run, and he was really tight with JB at one time.
But I think that's the second piece in the puzzle. The first piece was the Cavs making the decision. He's useless.
And I don't know
who made that decision.
I don't know if JB declared that or if Kobe declared that.
Okay.
Or maybe it was mutual.
Right.
I don't know. But ultimately, the organization decided he couldn't help them anymore. He was not going to be a piece going forward.
It's amazing how the fortunes of teams can change in the span of just a couple of months.
Yeah.
It wasn't long ago the Cavs were sitting in the 3 in the East, and the Lakers were 13th in the West. 13th.
Look at us now.
And look at the Lakers now. And you were big on the trade deadline at the deals. You said, watch out.
They fixed a lot of their issues.
And you said, right here on the show, watch out for this Lakers team.
Yeah.
They're going to have a voice in what happens out West.
And really quickly, I just want to add, because McNuggets, you played ball a little bit. I think it's a major problem, like, that the Cavs can't just come down and dump the ball into a big man and let him work. Like, when is the last time
it's not 1987 anymore.
No, it's not.
Well, listen, like, if you asking the bigs to go out there and rim run and do all this other stuff, and they're getting hammered on the glass, at some point, why don't you make Hartenstein, why don't you make Robinson guard you? You can get a couple of up and unders. You can get something where they may foul you instead of letting them be free running around blocking shots and doing all the energy stuff.
I'll tell you why. Have we seen at any point this season Jared Allen have a traditional back-to-the-basket post-up? Have we seen, we haven't seen Evan Mobley do it either. We've seen him have a little bit of a jump hook from the high post, but I don't think that's in either of their games yet. Allen's way more developed than Mobley is. Mobley can still kind of generate that kind of offense as he develops, gets stronger. But
Mobley's 147 pounds. He's not back.
And Mitchell Robinson's massive. Mitchell Robinson is a physical specimen. He's 7 feet tall. He's 240, and he's 26. He's in his physical prime. And I know the light's going on and off. So if you guys got dark,
it's off.
We just sent an email to ISHO.
Yeah, just
that's we'll get that addressed.
That's the Cavs playoff hopes right there.
Lights just went out.
It just fizzled and died. That's where we feel. That's where
Yeah.
Can anybody give me a reason to have optimism moving forward?
Donovan Mitchell. That's the only thing you can bank on at this point. Hopefully,
that's about all we have.
He has one of those crazy playoff games, and I'll get them to their second win, and then just hope they have some fight left.
He's going to need 3 of those, really.
Right.
Well, that's just what it is. What it is. I seen Jimmy Butler showed me.
My God.
That's like he plays on.
What did he finish with?
56.
He woke me up out of my sleep last night. I was sleeping. I heard the Miami crowd going crazy. I said, "Hold on, let me sit up and actually watch this game."
It was nuts.
We
he
talked
is
about
going
on the post-game
crazy.
show
Jimmy buckets.
that there are certain moments where big-time players step up and have these transcendent games. And Game 4 seemed like an opportunity for Mitchell to do that. Going against the team that didn't trade for
at the Mecca,
MSG,
where he's from.
He's from New York City,
and he's
from
shriveled.
New York. And this was the chance for him to come in and just say, pretty much throw a middle finger up and say, F you guys. Cleveland gave up more. You could have had me. You didn't want me. I'm going to make you, make you feel wrong and prove you wrong for that decision.
Yeah, he did anything.
And that
but
is why it was so disappointing to me that he came up so short.
He can still get it. He still got another chance.
It's not over.
If
I'm
they
just
get
saying,
this,
game
he could
4
still
was
go
a
to
chance.
6.
Right.
He could still go to 6 and do that. It was funny. In the year of the championship in 2016, I was when they went down 3-1 and how deflated. That was at home. They lose game 4 at home.
Yeah, that was
And it
devastating.
was just despondent. Like, this is the freaking Warriors, the 73-9 Warriors, and you're down 3-1.
And you're going to beat them 3 times in a row.
Right, which they hadn't lost 3 straight in like 4 years.
They lost 9 the whole season.
Yeah. And I remember talking to Kevin Love at his locker, and I said, you know what? I'll tell you what. Like, maybe this is insane. If you can get 5, just get 5 out there. If you can find a way, claw, scrape, get game 5, you ain't losing 6 at home.
No.
And Kevin said, no chance. And I said, in game 7, I'll take my chances with that mother bleeper over anybody else on the floor.
And in that game 5, I thought game 5 was the most impressive because it was just basically Kyrie and LeBron, my turn, your turn, at the highest level I've ever seen.
And 40 guys watching.
40 apiece.
Yeah. And I've said throughout this series, like, listen, Donovan's not LeBron. And the court has flipped. This is now you're home for 5 and 7. 6 is out there. But to your point, it's going to take Darius and Donovan.
There it is.
Carrying this thing. They have been the engine that drives this franchise all year long. So if they're going to do this, if they're going to come back from this, it's on those 2 guys. You can talk about the rebounding all you want, and you're 100% right. Everything you said earlier is dead on. They're getting pushed around on the boards. Jared Allen, 4 rebounds, inexcusable. They're getting killed on the offensive glass, and they're still giving up 99, 101, and 102 in the 3 losses.
And
that's
sub
it.
100
that's
is that's their line. When they hold teams to under 100, they win.
So in three losses, they've given up 99, 101, and 102 points, despite everything that's gone wrong on the glass, all the offensive rebounds they're giving up. That's not the issue. Like, the defensive side is not why they're in this 3-1 hole. They need Donovan and Darius to drag them across the finish line like they have all year long.
It's a mental test.
If Darius plays like he played in the 3rd quarter and like he played in game 2, they got a chance. If Donovan plays like he did in game 1, I think he had a pretty decent game 1, if memory serves.
He did game 1.
Yeah. If he played like
points,
that's how they get back in this thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know that they can do
anything short of that. Like, if both of those things don't happen, there's 0 chance.
Yeah.
Rap City the
There's 0
basement.
chance. Go ahead, McNuggets.
I got a poll question, and I want you guys to answer that. Then we will move on to our next topic here. But whenever we ask the YouTube chat a question, it's brought to us by our good friends at PCC Airfoils. If you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up. Plus, get full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. We asked the poll, the always trusted, always ingenious YouTube chat poll, that if the Cavs lose this series, will JB be fired? 55% said no, which is actually different than what we had initially thought the poll would come through. Jason, you said no. Boogie, you said no. G and J, what do you think about JB's future?
I think the results are in the framing of your question. You said, will he be fired? I think the proper question to ask the fans, should he be fired? I don't think he will, because I'm with Jason. I think the last 4 or 5 years, the organization is being run completely different. If this was, younger, more cantankerous Dan, he's gone. But it's not. And I think because of that, he'll get another shot. And I just hope that we're not sitting here next April saying, we lost another year.
Yeah.
We lost another year. Because if you can, put up his numbers again. Put up JB's career stats, if you would, Steve.
Yeah, give me 1 second. 160.
He's 50 games under 500 for his career in the regular season, and he's 2-7 in the postseason. And I know that there are plenty of examples of guys just figuring it out. But guys, that's a pretty good sample size.
Let me ask y'all a question. Let me ask you a question. If you flip teams, and Tibbs was coaching the Cavs, and Bickerstaff was coaching the Knicks, who do you pick?
I said at the start.
Who would win this?
No question, Cavs.
I said at the start.
No question.
The Knicks held the coaching edge in this series
So-
with Tibbs.
so-
and I'll tell you what,
That's the thing.
if they play Miami in the next round, Spoelstra would have the coaching edge over.
Absolutely.
I think Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA.
And so ultimately, here's the where the rubber meets the road question, because you said the clock's ticking. Clock's always ticking in sports. Always. You can hear it. It's deafening. You've got a coach that you're saying wouldn't have an advantage against the Knicks, wouldn't have an advantage against the Heat. Let's expand it. Would he have an advantage against the Celtics?
Yeah.
That's a rookie head coach.
It is a rookie head coach, but it's still fair to ask because I've seen some pretty impressive things.
It's a draw at worst, I think,
Okay.
for the Cavs. I'd call that a draw. And I am no fan of Budenholzer in Milwaukee, by the way.
No, I know. That's why I didn't even go to Milwaukee, because I don't know how Budenholzer is held on in Milwaukee.
He might. I'd be curious to see what happens there.
If they lose, he's gone.
Because we've talked about it before. The whole reason Jimmy's an owner, Jimmy Haslam's part ownership, is all the contract decisions they have coming up.
Yeah.
If they get bounced, I'll be really curious to see what happens to Mike Budenholzer
Yeah.
there.
Well, it's the Haslam effect.
I actually thought that last
He
night.
buys into the Bucks. Boom! First round bounce. I heard he wants to buy the Pittsburgh Maulers. I'm kidding.
We still got to win, so I don't.
I'm kidding. No, here's the problem. If you don't have a coach that you believe can win a championship, then what are you doing? Why are you wasting anybody's time?
Well, and that's why I said they're going to have the Ime Udoka conversation. Every team in the league's going to have it.
Well, he's hired.
And that's why I'm saying Houston knew that too. And
Sure,
Houston
they said we're
going to
get him before anybody else does.
Yep, Houston pounced fast
Yeah,
on that.
and you know what?
Yeah.
It'll be controversial for a minute, but as soon as he starts winning there, it'll be okay.
Yep.
You guys talked about switching the coaching staffs, but you said defense wasn't the problem. We all agree that defense isn't the problem. And Tibbs is a defensive-minded coach.
Yeah.
And you said if you switch switch coaches, I don't know if you would get different results because it's not the defense. It's still not going to have shooting, still going to have a bad bench.
Yeah, your point earlier, you still got to address the roster holes.
Going to have bad spacing. So the mentality of the Cavs may change because he's going to install toughness and a defensive mindset. But the offensive problem still will be here, whether you have Bickerstaff or Tibbs.
It's like a racing team almost. Okay, so you've got the car, and you've got the engine and the brakes and the tires and everything else, and the car would be the team in this case. And you've got Garland and Mitchell and Allen and Mobley, but there are some other very important parts on that car that are woefully underperforming. But your driver ultimately is going to take you however far you can go.
Yeah.
You can have this souped up, unbelievable car with all the right parts, but if the driver's not the right driver, he could put it into a wall. And I think the driver in this case is the coach. And I don't know if you put a perfectly calibrated team into JB's hands if he's going to be able to take them across the finish line.
I don't know that we don't know. Like right now, he's driving a car that doesn't have any oil in it. The transmission is leaking.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's fair to say we just don't know. And that's a tough spot to be in.
How much do you have to see before we do know? So Wednesday will be his 10th playoff game. If he wins it, his winning percentage will be 300.
Well, if Darius makes 6 threes and Donovan makes I'm serious.
No, I mean that's crazy.
He's going to look like a genius.
But I mean, some of that would be them getting open.
Oh, they've had a lot of
threes.
open looks. They've had a lot of open looks in this series.
Jason,
and they're just missing them.
I think at this point, I threw it out to McNuggets, and we got to get to Cavs. But I would sit Jared Allen. I start Mobley at the 5. I put Danny Green in the lineup and go small with either an Okoro or LeVert, whatever one you want in there. And I go super small, keep Garland at the point. So at least you got some sort of spacing. You may get killed on the boards, but guess what? You're getting killed on the boards anyway.
If you had one more competent shooter, I'd probably agree with that. But the fact is they don't. Like, I've been the biggest proponent of Danny Green of anybody in Cleveland, only out of necessity, not because I think he's that great or has anything. Like, he can barely get up and down the floor.
Yeah.
But it's just where they're at.